interpreting children's reactions can be challenging. So in this population, because some children have seen so many things during their journey over here, we can see different things that children may be going through. Excuse me. So some children may regress from developmental milestones. So meaning some children may be behaving instead of like their age. Let's say we had an example recently where a mom was telling our volunteer psychologist with myself that their daughter is 6, I think was 5 or 6, and the little girl was uh, beginning to behave like a 1-year-old. So the little girl was crawling instead of walking, was kind of going like, oh, I can't walk. The little girl stopped talking. She already knew how to talk and say a quite few sentences and everything. Well, the little girl now was babbling, and the little girl didn't want to do like solids a lot. She wanted baby food, um, wanted to be held at all times. So these things can happen. We'll see these regressions, or even levels of education too. Some children that we think should be at a 5th grade level may be at a 3rd grade level. We don't know when have they been to school, how long, there's so many things that may have impacted this child's developmental stages. So the whole regression can be based on different things. Our psychologists would do an exercise with them and would hold them on their arms and say, this is what you're going to say to your children. And to the parent, she would do it. And she'd say, I'm here. I'm your mom, or I'm your dad. I'm here, and everything is going to be okay because I'm here. Right. So the reason why she would use that exercise was to remind the child, right, that actually it was more of a reminder for the parent to remind their children that they are the pillars for them. They are the protection. So that could be an exercise that maybe you can use if you ever see this happening. But of course, let the volunteer coordinator or myself know, or anyone in around you supervising, and see if it's okay, or making sure everything's well. There'll be children having that difficulty of just showing their expression, so they may not know adequately how to express their happiness. They may be super like not sure how to act or behave. So there'll be those children. Some of them will be very hyperactive or may be withdrawn. So you may see a child in the corner and kind of like playing on their own. And if they don't want to play with you, or you ask them to participate, give them their space and still invite them over whenever they feel comfortable. But we will see that a lot because, there's so many things are happening in their little brains. So, and what they've been through. So we have to make sure and be aware that this is not a problem to be like, oh my God, they need to see this, or we need to go help them. We need to make them play. We have to make sure we understand where everything's coming from. We can check with mom and dad. Hey, is your child okay? Do they need their space? Being polite and acknowledging, that we see them, right? So some children will misunderstand their own feelings. They may not know how to express their happiness completely. They may be like super excited and run around in circles, or there'll be children who are super angry and may start throwing things, or they may be feeling frustrated, but they think they're sad. So kind of teaching them the feelings is also helpful during activities if you ever have one, because this can benefit their own learning of how to manage those feelings. So yes, they're going to be, different signs of behaviors out there that could affect children's reactions. So knowing how children may be behaving throughout your time volunteering, so or working with the children. So just knowing that these things can happen with the children. Okay, so we add this slide as well because sometimes we may misinterpret certain behaviors and reactions. So just a fun fact about these things about children is that there's misbehavior and then there's stress induced behavior. So the misbehavior is whenever a child makes the sound decision and does like it's intentional, like an intentional choice, like what they did, like harming a child. So I'm gonna throw this ball and hit the child, right? And so that's the misbehavior. The stress induced behavior is more they have that limited capacity to make that sound decision of hurting someone. It's just, when you're very stressed, you're like, you want to throw things, or you want to or you're so stressed and you kind of like wham, and you know, we are probably like don't realize what we're doing. But it's more physiological reasons. So we have to be careful not to say, oh, all these children are misbehaving. Oh my God, I can't handle them. Most of it could be stress-induced behavior, and maybe we can help them by doing a couple different things in order to calm the situation down. So, like this says, they could be having just a bad day. We can't just impose that everyone is traumatized, or every single child doesn't know how to cope, and they're all traumatized. Not everyone is traumatized. We have to set that out and think about that and have that open mind that some children can be, and some children are just having a bad day. They're also very good with resiliency themselves. They know how to make themselves feel better, but also may not use proper coping skills, but they manage. They're very smart. Children are so smart. So some things that you can do is redirection. So if something's happening, you can redirect the entire activity, saying, okay, let's do this instead. Or we're having a little bit of stressful moments here. Let's do a breathing exercise before we continue playing. You may have children super hyperactive, right? So we may want to do a breathing exercise in between to calm everyone down, relax, and then continue playing. So, or timeout. Timeout is not sending the child to the corner. Timeout could be, maybe a child's not having it, and are struggling a little bit. Let's take a break. Maybe you're with another volunteer and say, hey, I'm gonna walk with the child over here to the side, and kind of see what other activity we can do, or just have a moment for them to go with mom and relax, and then maybe when they're ready, come back and join us again. And sometimes it's over our uh, capacity to help. So we may have to call mom, or we can call the volunteer coordinator and help you with relaxing the child, or maybe the child is crying desperately, and so we're like, we've tried all we can to calm down the child, but it's time to call mom, or it's time to call dad, and have them take ownership of also their responsibility to know what to do with their child. So, and they're the parents, so they know how to comfort their child. So that's also another one. You can also gently refer the parents to other resources if you know of one. But just be careful what resources you're providing. So some a volunteer once had suggested, oh, which is great suggestion. She was able to tell mom, when you get to your destination, at schools, when you register your child to school, there's after school programs, and they really help with the child's, you know, learning and different exercises, activities, and so that was great to share. Sometimes we forget to mention what they can access when they arrive to their destination. So these are some strategies you can do whenever you're playing with the kids or whenever you're doing an activity and